Hello, unfortunately I didn't get the first version of iFi Hip-DAC for the review, so I've seen all that hype and all that positive experience, but I wasn't able to get it. But luckily iFi released the second version and I have that second updated version for the review. And in terms of pure specifications, this device looks unbelievable. It's a balanced portable digital to analog converter with internal battery, so it has its own power, so it won't drain your device. It's really powerful. It can deliver, if I remember right, 400 milliwatts for 32 ohms load from the balanced output. And with high impedance load, with 600 ohms of impedance, it delivers 6.3 volts RMS, so it can drive almost anything. It uses Burr-Brown chipset, and it's a pure balanced device, and it supports all resolutions and now even including MQA format. So if you use Tidal, it could be a good news for you. And that all actually is just about $190. I will add link to the iFi site to the description. They have really broad network of resellers and distributors, so most probably you'll easily find the reseller in your country and can get this device from them, but you can go to the iFi site to get more information if you'll need it. And now let's have a closer look. Package is pretty simple but looks pleasant. So they outlined all that signature features on the sides: bass boost, balanced performance, high-res audio streaming including MQA, and Burr-Brown chipset. And here actually I've got official Ukrainian version localized, and the sticker a bit hiding information on the back panel, but actually let's proceed to the internals. Specifications are not that interesting. Inside you'll get a short manual describing the controls and warranty card, description of how it should be used, what it can do, what it can't do, and all that other things. So let's put it aside. Here is the device itself. Actually, you know, it's surprisingly small. I haven't seen the first version, but in practice it's even smaller than I've expected, but more on that a bit later. And you'll get few cables to use with it, and gluing stickers if you want to use it as a desktop, for example, device, or you can use them as a spacers if you want to attach it to your transport. Also you'll get a bit longer USB type A to USB type A cable, also USB type A to USB type C, it's used for charging, and USB type C to USB type A to connect it to some modern transport. So why they use USB type A female, you probably know that, but if you don't, you'll see now. So here it is, nice interesting orange color and really pleasant texture. It's a device that is really pleasant to touch. It's made of metal and looks really robust and solid and well built. On the back side there is high-res sticker and two USB ports. So this one used for charging only, and LED indicator here shows charge status and remaining battery. And to connect it to the source and to the transport, they use USB type A adapter. It's typical for the iFi devices. They use this approach in their more expensive models, and they repeat it here too. By their words, it gives additional mechanical robustness. But actually let's see how it works. So just get this and connect it this way, and actually I'm kinda agree, it feels and really solidly connected. And on the front panel more interesting things actually is going on. So let me pull it out temporarily. So 2 buttons, and actually they have hints here. This one is for extra for power match. When you activate it, it gives more power to drive power hungry models. X base, it's, as you can easily guess, low frequencies boost, volume wheel, and also it works as an indicator. And there are 2 LED indicators on the side of this volume wheel that shows resolution of signal and other things. Regular 3.5mm and the Pentagon connector for the balanced output. So as you can see, all connectors are here, and LED indicator here glowing shows that battery is almost fully charged. Knob has has a nice smooth rotation, so zero channel imbalance and zero noise when it's rotated. It's really pleasant in terms of operating. So you click it and it's turned on, and there are 2 LED indicators that shows that these 2 features are activated. So if you press them, LED starts glowing. So to summarize everything in terms of design, accessory set, usability, build quality, and all other stuff, this device is built great and feels nice. And forgot to mention, the promised work time is about 8 hours, and it's true with sensitive in-ear monitors or sensitive headphones. But of course, if you decide to plug something power hungry and activate power match function, of course battery lifetime will be reduced. But anyway, work time is pretty good for the sound quality and features it delivers. And of course about the sound, so I built a small setup with FiiO M11 as a transport. Of course, vast majority of people will use it with a smartphone as a transport, but my smartphone is busy filming this video, so I use M11 and it has my main collection loaded, so for me it's a good example of good transport to use an example. And as an earphones I will use Kinera Balder 2 that I reviewed recently, really good high-end model with nice and engaging sound. So how iFi sounds? It's natural, it doesn't have much of coloration because my previous experience was iFi IDSD signature black, and it was focused on the micro contrast, and Xcan, if I remember right that name of the model, it was opposite, it was focused on the additional weight a little bit. Of course that wasn't big colorations, but they were present. And actually Hip-DAC is in between, it's natural, it's detailed, but at the same time it doesn't sound too dry, too monitoring. And actually it's a really powerful device with a great amount of power, and it controls load pretty well. More on that I will elaborate at the end of this video when we'll come to pairings. But meanwhile, let's briefly talk about the sound. So bass goes deep, almost to maximum depth. It's linear. Actually, frequency response here is almost linear without any humps or dips or something like that. But it's common, it's something you can expect from the modern sources, digital tonal converters, players, and so on. If you like, you can use bass boost function. It's actually pretty powerful bass boost, but sometimes it gives fun results, but actually I'm not a fan of that. So I prefer to keep it off vast majority of time. It's linear, it has a good resolution with nice amount of details, it's tight, impactful, and it definitely can deliver a good slam when necessary, thanks to the good implementation of power supply here. And that's the main difference comparing with dongle digital to analog converters, but more on that also a bit later. And as an example, I will use Juno Reactor Tempest, because here in this track there are a lot of deep bass, and it delivers it nicely with almost any headphones and controls that low frequencies really well. But it's also pretty good with that tracks where you'll need detalization and small nuances. Mid frequencies are also linear without big coloration, with good resolution, but not focusing on the micro contrast. So it's just basically somewhere in between. So it's not boosting the macro dynamics, maybe just a little bit, but it's not trying to highlight emotions, it's not trying to go to the micro or to the macro, so it avoids all that coloration, and basically what you give, you get. But it doesn't sound dry, and monitoring it remains musical in its nature, so really good, well-balanced type of mid representation. Imaginary stage is not super huge, but noticeably above average, both in width and in depth, with good positioning and layering. And it's not super critical for the quality of records, but it will require good material, because it just don't highlight anything or doesn't try to do anything with material. So to get the full potential, you'll need some good records. And as an example, it's Hiromi Uehara track player. It's greatly recorded piano with good accompaniment, with good drums and so on. I really like Hiromi's albums, and I like that rock type of recording jazz music. I'd like to hear more of that, but still, of course, it's a big technical challenge for the source, and iFi pass it really well. Not brilliantly, not superbly or great, but really well. Remember that we're talking about the less than $200 device. We need to get some handicap for the expensive models anyway, including iFi own ones. And treble, actually, it's good, it's well defined, it has good extension, but of course it's lacking rich audiophilic stuff like layering, rich overtone saturation. But at the same time, for this price tier, it's just everything you can wish for, and even with expensive headphones you won't lack too much. So it will give you basic overtones, it will give you airiness, and at the same time it won't try to push it forward or to make laid back. So uncolored, technical, and at the same time musical, it's the nature of this device. And as an example, it's Whiplash soundtrack, Intoit, and it's just good. Another good jazz track with some percussions and with a lot of instruments that have high-pitched overtones. At the same time, treble is not boosted here, it's not super forward, so it's easy to lose it, but luckily this digital tonal converter plays it nicely and delivers it on the really good level. Speaking about the pairings, as I've said before, it can drive almost anything, even planar magnetic headphones, maybe not the most expensive ones, not the toughest ones actually, because you know it plays really well with Meze Empyrean, for example. Of course, it's lacking a bit of refinement, it's lacking a bit of richness and small details, but in terms of power it drives them without any problems. But with more affordable models like, I don't know, Hi-Fi Man Sandara, for example, or Sandy Audio model, it drives them with Techstar 580, so even planar magnetic headphones that require some power is not a problem for this device. And one of the strongest parts here, of course, where many dongle digital tonal converters fails, it has its own battery, so even on the power hungry model it drives them and controls them perfectly, because for dongle DACs sometimes they don't receive enough power from the transport to drive perfectly. But this one will handle with all, no, well, not all, but with vast majority of load. With super sensitive in-ear monitors it has a slight background noise, not big, but it's audible. So if you have something super sensitive and you want to listen to it, you can get iFi iMatch. That will be a good addition here. As for conversions, to be honest, I didn't test portable digital to analog converters for quite a long time, I don't know, and compare it with something like X-Duo, XD05 of different versions, it's just not the proper comparison. And FIO's Q3 is actually more weighty with less treble than this one. This one is closer to neutrality. And I don't know, someone will definitely ask something like FIO's BTR5, for example, but BTR5 is more focused on the micro contrast and sounding more monitoring. And actually it's a good chance to get the sound of something like FIO M11, because actually in terms of representation, and let's name that level, I don't like this word, in terms of level it came pretty close to M11, not absolutely close, but actually it's pretty there. So if you're okay with a bigger size, iFi Hip-DAC is a good option to have more high-end sound for less price, and that's what it does, and it does it really well. And especially if you want a digital to analog converter to use with full-size headphones, Hip-DAC is a really good option. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.